Hello, militia and drones. Welcome to another Tablet Gaming Conquest First Blood Battle Report. I'm Isaac, and I will be playing 100 Kingdoms, led by St. Nick, against my opponent Brannon's Spires, led by Seu-Grinn, in the holiday scenario Kraken. That's right, we've doubled up. We've used both the holiday characters and the holiday scenario with the little Christmas gnome who you see smiling on screen. For the Grinch's army, we have a unit of 2 brute drones, a unit of 6 Vanguard infiltrators, the Grinch himself, 12 Vanguard clones, and a lone brute drone. The 100 Kingdom armies, led by St. Nick, have 3 individual household knights, 7 men-at-arms, 4 mercenary crossbowmen, and 11 militia bowmen led by a knight-errant of the Order of the Shield. So in this mission, we have 2 objective zones. Each one is worth 3 points if you control it, 2 extra points if you control both of them for a potential swing of 8. The 4 objective markers are for the Kraken's movement. After the supremacy roll, we roll a dice. On a 1 or a 2, it moves towards the 100 Kingdom player's choice of which objective marker on their side. On a 3 or 4, moves towards the Spire side. On a 5, moves towards the northern objective marker zone, and on a 6 it moves towards the southern. And I might have those flip-flop, but I don't think that part ever comes up in the game, so it's fine. St. Nick wins initiative. The roll for the Kraken's movement is a 4, so my opponent, the Spires player, has the choice. He moves it towards the southern objective marker, and it lands right on top of it. I send my men-at-arms bravely forward to stand in the center of the board, knowing that they aren't really going to accomplish anything this turn because they're melee guys and they're not super fast. Brandon's brute drone decides to charge, rolls a 6, plenty of speed to get in with the murder gnome. As a brute, he gets impact hits. He rolls 2 successes. The gnome saves both of them with 1s. Then his actual attacks, he hits twice, but thanks to Flurry, is able to turn that into 1 other hit because of inspiration. Then the gnome saves 1, takes 2 damage. Sadly, he only rolls a 2. That's not enough to get a present out of the little guy. The militia bowmen move proudly forward, ready to definitely have a major impact on this game. They cross a little river, they get their little toes as wet, and they stand in front of the objective, presumably waiting for presents to come their way. The knight-errant of the Order of the Shield assures them the presents will come this way, and it's all for them. The other set of 2 brute drones move around the impassable terrain and just kind of set themselves up, hoping to maybe cause a problem for the militia bowmen later in the game. We'll see if that comes true. Militia bowmen are pretty tough nuts to crack. My mercenary crossbowmen move forward and take up a powerful position in the middle of the board. Surely this will not come back to bite them in the rear at any point. Seu-Grinn just kind of moves forward out into the open, but not really threatened by anyone. St. Nick also just moves forward. We're doing a lot of moving around, not really accomplishing anything right now. It's turn 1. The Vanguard clone infiltrators move forward, and because they're spread out, they have to take time and do like an intricate pattern. That's why I keep my models, you'll notice, very tight together and easy to just push forward. Don't have to faff around with all this clever positioning. I don't know, maybe my brain's not big enough for spires. But yeah, they move forward. They're going to shoot at the Kraken. You're going to look at the dice and you're going to see a bunch of sixes, which in this game are bad. Yeah, they miss everything. The Kraken doesn't even need to make saves and definitely doesn't trap any presence. If you can see through the blur, that's the 3 sixes I was talking about. Look at that, pristine. Wow, love it. Now it's finally time for me to start making my Galaxy Brain plays. My knight double moves to get directly onto the objective. Yeah! Then the normal Vanguard clones move not onto an objective, so you gotta wonder what the player is really thinking here. He's just kinda picking up models, doesn't really know what he's doing. Well, I mean, spreading them out through forests and stuff. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I'm asking him. He's not telling. Maybe some play will develop through the game, but I'm not seeing it, folks. Are you? I perform a small mercy for the audience and quickly finish out the round by moving my 2 knights, and they just kind of move to support the other knight. Look at that. They're all friends, even though they're individual units. They love each other. They're all boyfriends. I don't know. They hang out a lot. So yeah, that's round 1. Thanks to the brave, heroic actions of my household knight, I was able to claim 3 points, and my opponent did not claim any points, giving me a rock-solid lead. The key thing that happens in this battle round is that our battle lines shuffle forward, and we discover just how difficult it's going to be to get any presents from this little gnome. So for round 2, Brandon wants me to go first and expose myself, so when he wins priority, he uses his lower amount of cards to force me to reroll, and I get a 1, which means I have to go first. I think this works out for me, but everybody has their own thoughts on things. The Kraken, however, is not confused and moves towards the 100 kingdoms. I start off round 2 strong with a march charge from the knight that initially claimed the objective directly into his brute drone, and then proceed to whiff both of his impact attacks. Seu-Grinn does some biomancy nonsense. He gives +2 volley to the Vanguard clone infiltrators, and then he goes and marches. I guess he doesn't use a 3rd action. That's just tactical genius that I don't understand personally. If you got 3 actions, you gotta use 3 actions. I very aggressively move a knight onto the objective. The brute drone that failed to get any presents from the gnome inspires and clashes into the noble knight who charged into him. Gets 3 hits, does not do any damage. The knight's armor is too strong. That's defense 3 plus shield, people. I less aggressively double move a knight onto the objective. His unit of 2 broops very dramatically... Did I just say broops? I'm keeping that. His 2 brute drones dramatically move forward right to the edge of the objective. No charges for them. Just points. Just claiming points. My mercenary crossbowmen take careful aim and unleash quarrel after quarrel into the brute drones. Of their 8 attacks, 4 strike true, and the brute drones only succeed 1 defense roll, so they take a total of 3 damage. On 5 HP bodies, that's not too much, but I'll take it. The Vanguard clones go ahead and make a march action, charge, which ends with a 5, and then that gets them into both of the household knights back on the objective. They're trying to fight their way through and claim some ground. They do not get any impact or normal attacks because they already spent their 2 actions. Also, I forgot to get a clip of the actual charge, so just pretend you can watch that happening. The Knight Errant of the Order of the Shield vastly overestimates what militia bowmen are capable of doing and puts himself in the jury mode to give them reroll 6s on their volley. Then they aim, shoot, and don't do a whole lot with it. A lot hit, but defense 3 is pretty good, and the brute drones end up taking 1 damage, which is not even enough to kill one with the mercenary crossbowmen's actual effort. The Vanguard clone infiltrators realized that Seu-Grinn played a little bit of a joke on them when he did the amplified biogenics, so he gave them +2 to their volley stat, but they ended up marching twice and not volleying at all. Follow that up with the decay from amplified biogenetics, and they end up taking 1 damage for no benefit. Just real smart stuff coming from this Grinch. St. Nick uses his first action to use the incantation to give +2 march to his men-at-arms. It instantly succeeds because they are festive. But his second action, which is a charge against the Kraken, doesn't do so hot. The men-at-arms, inspired by their glorious leader, decide to also charge into the combat. They attempt to charge the Vanguard clone infiltrators, whiff it, and stumble slightly forward, drunk on that good eggnog. At the end of the round, the brute drones have claimed 1 objective, my knights have claimed the other objective. Therefore, I gain 3 points, he gains 3 points, I'm at 6, he's at 3. So we go into turn 3. Buyers win the supremacy for turn 3 due to card advantage. The Kraken attempts to get into the safety of Santa's warm embrace. I rolled a 2 again, so it goes back towards my objective marker. So he's now firmly in my territory. Those brute drones make a guaranteed charge. 1 of them goes through the hindering terrain, that rubble that you see there, denying him his impact hits. The other one does get impact hits, but the regiment as a whole doesn't get to inspire, if I understood the rules for hindering terrain in First Blood correctly. The impact hit from the one guy does do 1 damage, and then the actual clash hits for 3 into the militia, including the resolve damage, which does kill 2 of these brave souls. The militia activate to attack in kind. The Knight Errant activates his jury mode again to give them reroll 6s. They inspire. They clash, which gives them the 2-inch push in. They end up doing 2 damage, which is enough to finally kill a single brute and put damage on the other. The funny thing about watching the recording later is it looks like I did 3 damage, 2 from the Knight Errant, or 3 from the Knight Errant and 1 from the militia, which wouldn't have killed the unit, but I do feel like my opponent somewhat cheated me because he should have healed less. You'll see later. Disclaimer, I am joking about feeling cheated. The Vanguard clones inspire, clash, get their 2-inch pile-in, move, whatever you want to call it, and go into the night, ultimately dealing 2 damage between hits and morale. We'll see if that's accurate. We'll see if we can read dice properly. Who knows? After that last one, no one's gonna know. We're just rolling dice and we're just saying numbers at each other. We're not confirming. My knight inspires, clashes into the brood drone, ultimately ends up doing 1 damage. The brute drone ends up inspiring and clashing immediately back. He does 1 damage through my defense, and then 1 damage through resolve, causing the knight to take 2 out of 5 damage total. The first of the knights inspires and clashes into the Vanguard clones surrounding him, and ends up ultimately doing 3 points of damage total. Seu-Grinn heals the Vanguard infiltrators of the little damage that they have taken, uses amplified biogenics on himself to give himself +2 move, makes 2 march actions, and then takes 2 points of damage from the decay from amplified biogenics. I hope the 4 inches of extra movement was worth it, you Grinch. Spoiler, it was. It ends up scoring him a lot of points because he gets on the objective. Bleh. My second knight up on the objective inspires, clashes, giving himself that 2 inch to get into the Vanguard clones a little more. Ends up doing 2 hits that aren't defended against, and then they take another 2 resolve damage. So altogether, a pretty successful round for those 2 knights. Let's hope that trend continues. Brannon moves his Vanguard clone infiltrators around the forest that is protecting the mercenary crossbowmen, and then he opens volley, scoring a total of 4 damage between actual damage. Oh, there is no resolve on shooting, so yeah, it's just 4 damage. That's 2 failed defense rolls and then 1 failed deadly shot. So that's why I failed 3 dice but took 4 damage. The 2 remaining mercenary crossbowmen take aim and fire at Seu-Grinn, dealing 1 damage through his evasion. Looking at this, I'm not sure if I actually would have been able to, because I think his Vanguard clone would have blocked line of sight, but I don't know 100% how that works. I forgot to film the men-at-arms charging and clashing, and Nick giving the men-at-arms +2 march. But anyways, they succeed a charge and do 2 damage versus the Vanguard infiltrators. At the end of the round, because Brannon has claimed both objectives by piling enough guys in on the knight-held objective and keeping the brutes there, with Seu-Grinn, believe it or not. Actually, the brutes moved off, so it's just Seu-Grinn scored him completely the objective. He goes from 3 points to 11, and I scored nothing, so I'm still at 6. So if you were thinking I was in the lead, boy, are you wrong. Don't you have egg on your face. Santa is not going to walk away with a win that easily this Christmas. The Spires win supremacy going into turn 4. The gnome moves in the direction of my choice. I at first think I'm just going to leave it exactly where it is, and then I say, hold on. Santa himself deserves a chance of getting an actual literal gun. So I put the Kraken into the middle-ish of the board, I guess between the 2 markers. Close enough for Santa to make a whack at him. Seu-Grinn is the first to activate in turn 4, and the first thing he does is he heals the brute drones, which brings a guy back and fully heals the survivor. I'm not sure if the healing would have been enough if we had actually recorded damage correctly, but then he amplifies the infiltrators to get +2 clash and transfers entropy onto the men-at-arms. So the decay 6 from the amplify ability also applies to the men-at-arms when they eventually act. He also decides to just not do anything with his third action. I guess marching is not good enough for him. And I don't know, there's nothing else he could be doing. Bleh. My first play is to activate the militia with the Knight Errant going into executioner mode, which gives him +2 cleave and does not buff the militia at all. But since the last times he's fought, he's been the one to do the majority of the damage. I figured that's okay. They inspire, they clash, and ultimately do 2 points of damage, which is nowhere close to the amount that they just healed, so altogether negative progress. Hilariously, it is the militia that do those 2 points of damage this time, not the Knight Errant of the Order of the Shield, our professional +2 cleave man. Lone Brute Drone inspires and clashes into the Knight, ultimately dealing no damage. Flurry's good. Cleave is better when you're dealing with defense 4. My men-at-arms inspire and clash into the Vanguard clone infiltrators. They get 3 hits. The infiltrators fail 2 evade rolls and then fail resolve, taking a total of 3 damage to the unit. But then they take decay damage from the entropic transfer or whatever that Seu-Grinn put on them from earlier. They end up taking 2 damage, which kills a guy. The Vanguard infiltrators then inspire and clash back into the men-at-arms, end up doing no damage because chunky armor, and then they take 1 damage from their own original decay. Saint Nick turns around, puts his knuckle dusters on, and charges at the little gremlin who stole the presents. Sorry, the murderfish gnome. Rolls a lot of dice, does a lot of damage, 4 damage, and then ultimately makes it drop a present. And the present that it drops is the plans for the 100 Kingdoms monster. Wow! It gives 100 Kingdom units Bloodlust and Flurry. Bloodlust, as far as I can tell, is not a rule in First Blood, so I guess that's just a cool, funny little thing. But it gives any other unit Flurry. In order to pick it up, you actually have to move into it, so he doesn't pick it up as soon as it drops. But it's there and available. The Vanguard clones inspire, clash, kind of get more of a surround on the one knight, roll a lot of dice, get through his armor a little bit, ends up doing 2 damage to him between resolve and, defense and resolve. That's the order it goes in. I've played this game before, I promise. The mercenary crossbowmen see that they have a clear shot to Seu-Grinn. They decide to end this. They fire. Only do 2 damage, but that's enough to leave him on 1 life left, which he cannot heal. Brandon's unit of 2 brute drones inspire and clash into the militia, score 9, I think hits, but then the militia show their true selves. Look at all those ones. That's 5 saves. They only lose 2 guys. That's 4 wounds. And then their resolve, they pass 2 of them. Thank you, Knight Errant, for adding resolve 4 to the unit. I didn't get clips of which knight specifically this is, but somewhere in the cluster of knights, One of them inspires and clashes and does like 1 damage, but because of how models are positioned, it does the 1 damage to its standard bearer, which I think is a pretty important guy. My second knight in that group inspires clashes, does 2 damage, and no resolve damage. But still, that 2 damage goes on to the standard bearer, finishing him off. And hey, that's pretty good. My last knight, and I'm pretty sure the last activation of the turn, attacks into the brute drone he's been dueling and does 2 points of damage to him. It doesn't kill him, it doesn't even get him near death, but it's something. Am I right? At the end of round 5, I still control no objectives. Brandon controls both objectives. That means he's gaining 3 points each plus 2 for both. That's an 8-point swing. He goes from 11 to 19. I stay at 6. Seu-Grinn has 2 damage on him. 4 damage on him. 2 from Decay, 2 from my Mercenary Crossbowman. So he is in range and nearly dead and can't heal himself. And I've got my knights surrounded. But, you know, it only takes a little bit to swing one of these fights either way. We do Supremacy for the 4th round. Brandon wins priority, but I get to move the Kraken. I scooch him away, completely out of the way where no one will ever bother him again. I got my gift. That's all that really matters. Like, Santa's fine with it. The gnome can chill over there. Seu-Grinn has another one of those complicated turns. He heals the brute drones, negating all damage that I've ever done to them forever. He amplifies the infiltrators, for +2 clash because they're in melee with the men-at-arms. And then he transfers entropy onto the men-at-arms so that they'll take the decay that the infiltrators have. So that's decay 6 on both units. And then he also tries to march away from my mercenary crossbowmen, but they're inescapable. They're absolutely mercenary. They're bounty hunters. I march my relentless hunters, those mercenary crossbowmen, right up, and then they take a shot at Seu-Grinn. And because they didn't aim, they do 0 damage. They get nothing. The brute drones split their attacks between the knight errant, because if we understand correctly, you can split specifically onto officers, and they use their own defense and resolve. But yeah, they split. One attacks into him, and the other attacks into the militia. The knight errant takes 2 damage from damage, and then 1 damage from resolve. Then the brute drones do a whopping 5 damage from defense rolls to the militia, and then 4 resolve damage, and I lose the majority of the unit. We should know at this point that this is when we realized that we weren't playing with the broken rules at all. So good on us. Last session we did 1 wound everything. Now we do no broken. My unbroken knight errant and militia bowman singular activate, inspire, and clash. The knight errant does 3 damage to the brute drones using his mode that gives him 2 cleave, and the militia gets a hit in, but the brute drone saves, and then it takes a resolve damage. 4 wounds total. The vanguard clones inspire and then clash into the knight that they've been working on all game, and believe it or not, they finally do the 1 wound left that they need to do to kill him. RIP in peace, King. I am sad to report that the men-at-arms do inspire and they clash, and they do 4 points of damage. But my opponent, Brandon Seu-Grinn, takes 5 resolve tests, and he fails all of them. for a total of 9 damage, which means I am now the cheater. Which I don't think is fair, because I wasn't even intending to. I was just letting him roll dice, you know? Just absolutely shameful behavior on my part. But, yeah, the men-at-arms take their decay because of that entropic transfer thing. They take 2 points of decay damage. 2 points of decay for 9 points of damage. Pretty good trade, if you ask me. This entropic transfer thing is no big deal at all. I've only taken like 4 damage from it. That's nothing. That's baby stuff. Speaking of good deals and decay, his Vanguard clone infiltrators activate, inspire, and clash into the men-at-arms who just ravaged them. Deal 1 point of damage, and then the unit is finished off from its own decay. So hooray for decay. I'm a big fan. Keep using it. My knight makes a charge automatically because he's got range move. Does 1 damage in impact, and then 1 damage with the actual clash into the Vanguard clones. The Brute Drone Brawling with my Knight activates, inspires, clashes, hits 4 times, fails to do any damage through my defense again. My last Knight inspires and clashes into that Brute Drone, and finally finishes him off. Everybody cheers, everybody claps. It's just a brilliant day for everyone. Saint Nick moves through the treasure, picking up the plans for the 100 Kingdoms monster, and moves towards the crossbowmen to help out against the final drone in the 2-man unit. So it's the end of turn 4. Brandon still owns 2 points, well, both points. Even though I got the present, it's not worth anything for victory. His score is now 27 from 19, and mine is still 6. So over the course of 2 turns, he has gained 24 points. Sorry, 3 turns, 24 points. Less ridiculous. But we'll see how turn 5 goes. Brandon wins supremacy. The gnome rolls a 1 again. I keep it exactly in place. It doesn't need to move any more around. That's ridiculous. He doesn't even have good presence. He has weird stuff. Seu-Grinn heals the Brute Drones again, gives them +2 clash, and then transfers the entropy into the militia. I feel like this is the last moments of that militia. Grinch doesn't move anymore, though. He has to stay on the objective. Even though there's a huge lead, if I can even get 1 model, well, I guess 2 models on there, it's going to be a problem for him to keep his lead, because we've got 3 turns left. Speaking of problems for Brandon, after Seu-Grinn goes, my mercenary crossbowmen go. They trudge against the hindering terrain, and then without aiming, just blindly fire bolts, quarrels, whatever, at Seu-Grinn, doing enough damage to kill him. And then I get my 2 victory points, so I go from 6 to 8, which, you know, every point counts when you are 21 points behind. The Brute Drones activate. They do not inspire. They split their attacks between the errant and the militia, and they kill both of them, destroying the unit. And then they cleverly march backwards onto the objective to try to keep scoring it up, because I have not been scoring well with this game. They also take a couple points of burnout damage, 2 points of burnout damage, which later allows Santa to kill one of them. But we didn't remember the burnout, the decay, until later. So this might look weird. Santa comes ho-ho-hoing in with his brass knuckles, making a charge into the brood drones. He makes 7 attacks with relentless blows and flurry. Sorry for the cough. I'm not going to edit that out because I'm getting lazy. It's midnight right now. I'm sorry, listeners. But, yeah, despite Clash 4... Oh, actually... Clash 3, because he charged through the hindering that's hidden by the cards there. But Clash 3, Flurry, Relentless Blows, 7 attacks, he only does 4 damage. Kinda ridiculous if you ask me. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. The Vanguard clones inspire and clash into the night, but once again, thanks to his brutally solid armor, the Household Knight stands strong and takes no damage despite impossible odds. The men-at-arms charge into the final remaining brood drone, and despite their best efforts, do 0 damage. His defense 3 is just too high. We can't stop him, folks. He's unstoppable. So the knight that had spent this game dueling the brood drone, finally freed from this duel, charges into the Vanguard clones to help his buddy. He saw one of them die, and remember, it's canon that they are boyfriends. I said this earlier. Sees one of them dragged down, infuriated, charges in, kills one with an impact hit, moves 2 inches in, clashes, kills the next one, all in all avenging his boyfriend, partner in the polycule. I don't know. But anyways, there's only like 1 Vanguard clone left with 1 wound. So they're probably gonna die soon. Oh look, it's the other knight activating. He inspires and he clashes. And believe it or not, the 1 wound Vanguard clone does, in fact, die. And gets pulled off the table just like that. Wow! So, yeah, end of the round. I gained 10 points. 2 for killing Seu-Grinn with the crossbowman, 2 for holding both objectives, and then 3 for each individual objective. He stays at 27. I jump from 6 to 16. And we know that because he's only got 1 brute growth drone left on the table, this game is decided. I'm going to kill him. And even if I don't, I am scoring more points for the next 2 turns. 6, 7, and 8. 3 turns. So I catch up to that 27 and win no matter what. So we just call it there. And yeah, good game all around. I'll go into the final thing here.
Alright, so that was our first Blood Battle report of the Kraken. I should have looked at what the name of the scenario is, but we do it live here. The forces of Santa came through on that one. It was shaky in the middle. Beginning was good for Santa. Sorry, Saint Nick. Middle, it looked real good for Seu-Grinn. He kept healing back those brute drones. Just impossible to grind anything down, but I won just enough of a swing here and over there with the knights to pull through. What do you think, Grinch?
Yeah, so like you said, I think I better utilized my brutes and kept them alive a little bit better. I don't know if spreading out so much was the right play. The mission in general, I thought the Kraken was cool, but it was very hard to get presents. Only Santa was able to get 1 present. And there's no point, so it kind of incentivized playing objectives and kind of ignoring the Kraken.
Standing in circles.
Yeah. So
the true Christmas tradition. That's who does not love on Christmas morning. You wake up, You come downstairs.
Yeah.
Circles have been placed around your living room, and you stand in them. And whoever stands in their circle the longest on Christmas morning wins Christmas and gets presents. Sorry. You only get presents for punching the gnome.
Correct. Yeah. So he has to come to you, and then you punch them.
But otherwise, you sit in the circles on Christmas morning is the point, and that's my favorite tradition. Especially when you get a little cocoa.
Yeah,
maybe that's what's in the circle.
That's what that's what we need to think.
That's what it is.
So yeah, I think this commission would be a little bit more improved for next year. I don't know if Parabellum sees this. If the objectives were worth less points, and then getting the presents were some amount of points, so you could kind of either gamble and get points by attacking the Kraken, or you could grab the scenarios and as a way as a backstop. I just think you can go too far when you grab both. Yeah. Otherwise, I think we played a little bit better of a game of First Blood versus the other game.
We actually had 2 wounds.
Yeah, so Vanguards and other things stood way further up.
6. There's like 2 wounds, 6 fingers.
But other than that, yeah, I used Infiltrators instead of Marksman this time, and the Infiltrators are fine. The 10-inch range probably hurts, but they were painted, so I don't know. I like holiday missions. I love the new models for this, and then even the Kraken. I just wish this mission. I thought the Jolly and Mean was a better scenario, and they kiss because
they've made up. This is how we play with dollies.
Correct.
Around here.
There you go.
Hey there, folks. If you made it this far in this video, why don't you give us a like? Why don't you comment on our video? Why don't you subscribe to our channel? Get some more content in your feed. We'll be happy to help out with that. Bye.